Howdy folks, Rusty here. Now I'm going to show you the quick and easy way to build a plane. It's about the quickest way I know how. A few people have asked me how, or a few people have commented that I build planes like a madman. But you know, I don't think I build it that dramatic of a rate. It's just that it's pretty easy. Now what I've got here, I'll show you the secret to this whole process, is you only really need one piece, and that's this. This is my fuselage template. And since I've already built a few of these, this is just the paper I peeled off a previous build. But initially, just print one of these out as plans, and then when you do your first build, just use this as your template. Just glue it on your paper the same way we do this. But the thing you're going to need first is your fuselage profile. Now, once you got that, the rest of the build all falls right into place, because this is the main piece right here. I've got two of these here, and I'm going to show you how to build a plane in almost no time. These are little curlies. I pulled them off. Straighten these out a little. Just take the curve out of those a little. There we go. Okay. Now, quick and easy. We're going to do, I got a glue stick here, and all I'm going to do is simple as this. I'm going to take the fuselage half here, lay them out, and I'm going to start with this one. Actually, I'll start with this one going this way. Oh, sorry, I had it right the first part. Alright, what we're going to do is start with this going this way. I'm just going to line this up with the edge of the paper. It really don't matter which one you start with, but if you really want to squeeze it all together, you can fit them to the lines. Now I'm just going to take this, a little bit of, you don't need a ton of it, just a little glue on there like that. And, oops, stick that on there. And what I'll do is I'll just stick this template right to there, like so. Let's do the same, but the exact opposite on the other side. Just like so. Get some glue on there. Get some glue on the edges mainly. Make sure it's going to stick, but you don't have to stick tremendously. Yeah, what you believe in, I just glued the wrong side of that. I just did that backwards. And I'll glue this side of it. Just messy, but no big deal. Take that off here. You stay. And I'm going to just stick this right on here. Just like so. So I have my fuselage template. And now, pretty much you're ready to just go start cutting here. And what I'm going to do is cap my glue here. Oops. Hey, stay. And my fingers. What I'll do is I'll make the smaller cuts first. I'll start over here in the tail. And I'm just going to slice. Slice. Take that piece out of there, like so. Get free. But it can stay in there for now. And I'll go up here. I'll take this cut out here. Right to there. Right to here. And so. Cut through the second layer of paper. I make one cut through one layer of paper, and then I follow the line again and make a second cut through the second layer of paper. Take off at the end right here, right at the tail. Just take off that, clean and flush, and then we'll take off this curve, this contour right here. And it looks like my power's going low. Let's unplug that. Fix that. I'm on solar power and I'm using a lot of power right now. I've got a glue gun, computer, lights, and everything plugged in, so bear with me there. Reset now. I'm running on battery power on the computer. Now what we're doing here is we're going to cut this piece over here. What I like to do for the longer sections here is I like to take a straight edge and use that for a cut guide. I'll just position that right along the edge of the template like this, and just follow the straight edge like this right down to the end. That like this here. Let's take another one here. Let's free up the two fuselage heads here. Oops. Glue sticks. My bench is a little cramped and crowded here. My whole place is. I only live in a little shack. Now, let's pop out that piece there and move this up a little bit. We've got just one more cut to make. And that's this feller right down the middle here. We'll just get it right on the line like this and do the same exact thing we did before with our straight edge, and that's just take a line, go deeper, and almost all the way through the last sheet of paper. Okay, here's two fuselage halves. Now, if you're really want to be smart and efficient about what you're doing, as soon as you do this, what you'll do, you'll take a pen here and just label it. Pull this off all in one piece here. There's your next template for your next build. And here on this side, here's another template. Now you've got two more templates out of this side. The same out of this. You got two more templates, and you know you can keep as many of these as you want, but you build a lot this way, they just keep multiplying. So you know it's no big deal. You just grab another template, shove it on a piece of foam, and start cutting. It's a really quick process. Next, what I like to do is I'll get the two pieces and compare them and see if there's anything drastically different on it. And I will see that one piece is slightly over the other piece, just a little bit over here. And what I'll do is I'll just take my blade and run it right along the first piece like a straight edge and even these two right out here. Like that. Turn it over and just reinforce the notch over here. It's a little bit different. And clean it up as much as you need to. No big deal, should only take a second, and you can smooth it out with a little scrape of 100 grit from your sanding block. Alright, there's the hard part already done. Now the next thing you want to do is, for this I'm going to make it easy, I'm just going to lop off a chunk of this foam. I'm not exactly building the most efficient way. I'm just going to kind of freehand off a chunk of this so I have something to work with besides the big sheet. And now what I'm going to do, you can save the templates for these two. I do sometimes, but I find it so easy to lay up a monoblock like this that all I do is I take the fuselage, I lay it out, I draw the line right there, right to there. I draw the line right to here, and I like to make a nice thick monoblock on this thing. I don't like the little monoblock on the original design. I mean, it works fine, there's nothing wrong with it, but I just prefer a little extra reinforcement up front. As I'm hard on planes, I fly into trees and rocks and all kinds of stuff. I'm not gentle. So I like to give it a little extra, so that's what I'm doing here, and I'm just making the whole thing monoblock. So now, I've done this, I just cut out the first monoblock. And if I want to put, let's say, 6 monoblocks on this fuselage, build it up enough, wide enough to take a receiver in there, or take a smaller gear is actually harder to fit sometimes because the servos that are on the little brick boards are kind of a tight fit. They're actually wider than the ones without the servos on them. And what I'm doing is I'm just using this first piece I cut, and I'm going to trace out the rest of the monoblocks right here. 1, 2, 3, and what I'm doing here, I'll turn this over edge to edge like this, and just keep making lines like this. There's 4 pieces. I'm just going to make that last line straight down there, share all these lines like this. And 5. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This will be the 5th one here. It'll actually be the 6th one, but it'll be the 5th one I'm doing from the template. And the template is our first one. So, do that, and do that. And there's your monoblock. Simple as that. No big deal at all. And now you can just start hacking these out like this. Let's take this, shares an edge all the way across, so I'll just chop this right there like that. Chop this end off right here, like that. Just pull these out. And like I said, if you want to save these for templates, you can, but for me, they're so easy to just do this every time that it's no big deal. It only takes a few minutes. So I'll just put those, cut those. Biggie, just get them there nice and straight lines. And you can do it in short lines like this. And here's your templates. And you have 12 of these. You don't need that many of them, but you can stick them in a baggie, and you can have a whole entire airframe kit that'll fit in a Ziploc baggie that you can take to the field with you, and you can fabricate something like this in a half an hour. You know, really fabricate a new fuselage or parts that you need, and once you have some of the parts like the tail and such to transfer over, real simple matter of just fixing up the fuselage if you crunch one. You've been at the field. If you take your tools to the field, and let's get all our monoblock here. There you go. Look at all those templates over there. These are all more planes right here. If you keep those, set those aside for now, like that. And now let's glue up this monoblock here. What I'm gonna do, I'm simply just gonna start stacking these all together. Align the front end of them over there. Light smear of hot glue. Smear them together a little like that. Get them in there. Oops, there's my stick. If anybody has a solution on how to keep the new stick in the glue gun, it drives me nuts. I don't know why and how it falls out like that every time I've got a new stick before it grabs into the retainer. Now, these are all a little bit tiny different size, but if you line 2 of the edges, the front edge and the bottom edge, we'll just trim the top edge a little later. We'll just sand it all out. Trim the top edge. You know, light glue is all you need on here, not much at all. As you're going, make sure this edge stays straight. And few more pieces here. Just a light bit of glue. You don't want to make this too heavy. Unless you want a lead sled, then you can really glue it up and really squish the glue out. Spread it all over, and you'll end up with a little bit heavier machine, which, you know, maybe what you want, but it may not be what you want. Depends on your preference here. And last one. With that little bit of glue, smear, spread that, get that edge up to there, and then into there. Just press those down. And now, take this 100 grit here, make a few passes and level that all out. And take the back end of this. It don't even matter if you level the back end of this, because it's going to be inside the airframe. But if you want to be clean about it, you can do that. Level those out, like so. Trim that a little bit like that. Do all the sides here. A couple of passes on each one. There's the monoblock. Now, you take our fuselage sides here, and what you want to do is the same thing. Just lay them up just like the monoblock. And give a good thin coat on there. Stick that on there like so. Okay. And stick this on here like so. Sometimes I use spray glue for this to go even lighter. For the sake of this video, I'm using hot glue because a lot of people, it's a common build method, and it's quicker, actually, just than going outside to spray the glue. It's the same speed, actually, but I just don't want to work with my spray glue inside for this video as another thing. I'd just rather not breathe it. And there's pretty much your fuselage fleshed out, the main parts of it. Take the tail here, is what I do. I put a bead right along the tail, like that, glue. Line it up. What I do is I'll just eyeball it. I'll pull on it like that and line it up into what looks like a good triangle. Just make sure it's all flush and lined up. Hold it for a second until it dries, and there's most of your fuselage here. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want a bulkhead. So you want to take this, the same thickness as your, whatever you make your monoblock. This is 6 pieces. So I'm making this the thickness of 6 pieces here, like that. Let's be precise about this one, just for the sake of it. You can just chop this up by eyeball and hand is usually what I do, but I want to show you the foolproof method here. Just make a little line, make that across there, make that across there. Okay, it don't matter how tall it is, as long as it's taller than the fuselage. I'll show you why, because we're just gonna do this really. Oops, I broke it. Let's cut another one. Good thing this is easy to do. Let's measure another piece out here. Oopsies. This time I'll try not to break it with my big fat fingers while I'm depapering it. Take that across there. Just yanking one of these out and here. There we go. Alright. Let's do this without breaking this thing. I have a lot of nerve damage in my hands, so this isn't exactly the easiest thing for me to do, but too much to dry fit this in here and figure out about where we're gonna want this thing. And to me, personally, I'm not even measuring it, but that looks about just fine and dandy, right? Actually, we'll back a little more, give me a little more room to move the wing around for the CG adjustment. And there we go. And what I'm gonna do now, just put a couple of little marks on there like that. Let's see those. Enough. And I'm gonna just put some glue down the sides of this. Here, not a ton. Let's build light, and let's just shove that right down to the bench, like that. Let's squish that in there and try to line it up somewhat evenly. Doesn't even matter if it's totally perfect, as long as it's somewhat close. We'll do that, and then I'll just chop some of this off here. But I'm going to leave a little bit sticking up because I'm still going to use this for the wing saddle as well. the back of the wing saddle on here. I'll let the wing butt up against there. If I need to, I'll shim it out a little bit to adjust the CG. Simple as that. Now for a fuselage bottom, again, I'm going to take my big sheet and I'm just going to do this quick and dirty style. I'm going to grab a piece I know will fit on the plane from there to there. I'm wasting foam here, but it's no big deal. This stuff is so cheap. From there to there, you can cut a little tighter on your initial cuts if you want. Let's see, let's get it a little fit like that. Like that. Yeah. Let's just e-paper this one. And let's not throw those with my templates because those are just trash. Okay. Now, I'll take this here and do this like this. So lay it up and make sure we cut a piece that'll fit over all the edges. Deviating a little bit from plan from the original OSG for the sake of the simplicity of the build and for the fact that I get a little more room in the fuselage if I put this on later like this on one piece and do the top the same way instead of cutting out the individual pieces. It saves some time. So let's glue this up here. Let's run that, and I'll run a bead down here, down here, down here, down there, all the way down there, and up, oops, up here like that, and then just stick this right on like that and rock it back onto itself. Make sure it stays straight like that. Yeehaw. And that's what I've got. Big old fuselage, fat bottom. Now you can even run a bead in there and reinforce that if you want up front, because that's where it's the most likely to take abuse. Next, I'm going to do, make sure this is all glued down. It's good here. Looks like the glue is set. And now I'll just take my blade, trace out the outline again, just getting closer to where we want to be now. Cuts. Crack that piece right there. Yank that off. Oops. Yeah, get that. Put that there. Yeah, let's take this one. Down there like that. Crack that off. And guess what? We almost have a fuselage here now. It didn't take too long, did it? What are we, 20 minutes into this? 25 minutes into it? Now I've done a little bit of talking and explaining. Now I'll just take my block, level out the rough cut, round out the bottom of it a little bit here. This is one of the reasons why I like to put the foam on the bottom instead of going inside, like some builds are. Like that, so I have a little more to shape back there, and I can make it a little more aerodynamic. Just cut out the tail there. Look at that, that's about 90% of the fuselage now. For me, it's actually done because I usually cover this piece over here at the top with tape so I can access my control rods, my radio gear, all of that good stuff. And there's a few little high spots on here. I can play with it, sandpaper a little more. Just in them like that. Break the little boogers of hot glue off of there. Just little hot glue boogers. And give it a little more shape here. That, like that. If I really want to shape it faster, I'd use the 100 grit. This is 150 I've got here. It's good enough for doing nice fine work here. Get more glue boogers. Alright. Right there. Smooth it out, round it out. That's your fuselage. And yeah, your wing is going to go over here. If you really, really, really want, you can do the same thing you did on the bottom. Put another piece here. I usually do that after I set my wing and know where my wing is going to be. But for example, I've got another wing here I can just grab, test fit here. You can even do this with just a 2.5 inch piece of foam, the same width as the wing. I'll do the same thing again. I'm just going to hack off a rough piece of my foam here. Do that. I'll rough cut that about there. Just big enough to cover all the edges. Peel the paper. Peel the paper. Test fit this, test fit this. Like so. Get that to go right on there like that. It looks like we're just about where we need to be. So right at the edge here, it's exactly the size that I need. I'm gonna a little bit of glue on there, a little bit of glue on there, and down, across, down, and a little bit in there. Line that edge up. It's the only critical edge. The rest of them are. We're going to trim out. In there. Just take a little, trim that flush there like that, trim that flat. Take this again from the bottom and do the same kind of trim I did before, like this. Just going to take off the oops. I'm just going to take these pieces off here. There's the fuselage top. Now what you can do in lieu of sanding this as well too, sometimes what I do is I know what shape I want exactly right offhand, and I just take my blade like this and bevel these into the shape that I want like this. Just do a simple foam bevel. Hold your blade at an angle and just be, you know, gentle with it. Just practice on a few pieces first. It'll take you maybe like 10 or 15 good bevels before you get good at this, where you can just no problem. But if you practice on some strap foam, it makes life a lot easier. And just, oops, I chip that a little bit, just roughly sanding it like that because I'm a bit heavy-handed with things like that. But I'm just gonna stick that right back in there just like it was with hot glue. Try not to glue my fingers to it. And there we go. Try not to be so rough on the other side here. Probably use a little bit more hot glue to hold that down. I don't think I quite went far enough into the curve of the fuselage there. Now, sand these curves down here. Make a nice rounded, ovalized front of the fuselage here. You can just shape this until it's how we like it. The monoblock is in there, so you don't have to worry about going too far into it or going through the foam, because it's all foam up front. So I'm just going to bevel all of this off like that. Make us a nice pretty rounded fuselage we've got so far. I still haven't even, a little seam there, I still haven't even cleaned this up fully yet. That's just what we've done in about a half an hour here now. took to make this, it would take a little less to make. And might have done this a little bit crooked, but not too far off that it's really going to matter much. Okay, now, if you even wanted to now at this stage, if you wanted to cover the top of this, say you're going to put control horns in somewhere else, other than routing them inside the fuselage and taking this over and wanting access, you can just do the same thing we've been doing, just go through the same kind of procedure. Pull the foam off. You can do this with, you can build a plane out of scrap pieces of foam so easily with this method, because all you've got to do is find pieces that fit just bigger than the foam. You don't need a whole sheet. You can use the scraps from all your other projects. And just get this glued up here like this. And we'll put one of these. Let's put it on this way, like that. Let's stick that on there, stick that on there. Push it all down. And once again, same thing, let's trim out. It's going to end right there. It's going to end right here. Crack that off. Like so. This side. Like so. You can even put the bevel in at this stage if you're uppity about it. I prefer to just cut the excess off and then spend my time making a nice bevel going this way. And I'm going to bevel this one out pretty good here at the base, about almost halfway across like that. Get a nice bevel here. Just don't go too deep on your bevel, go shallower than you need to, and sand out the rest of it. But bevels are easy to do like this. Just watch out for your bulkhead here. What you want to do is just take that right off like that. Like that. I'm going towards myself, but it's not unsafe because I'm hardly using any pressure. It's not like it's going to slip and hit me in the face. So just when you're going towards yourself like that, just be careful with it. But at the same time, it's not something that's really prone to cause much injury. Now I'll sand this out, round the rest of this out a little bit like this. Few strokes. Let's see. Here's my 150 now. Fine. Make it a little more fine here. Now, all right. There's a rounded out, smoothed out fuselage right there. And if you build a few of these at a time, even while you're doing all this stuff, do everything twice. Do everything 3 times. Put a few of these on the shelf. If you crash one, yank it off the shelf, or bring a whole other airframe to the flying field. You change out your gear in no time. And then, so we got this. Now we got the height for our bulkhead here. But actually, what I wanted to show you is another trick we can do. If we really want to get fancy with this, you can even round this out more by taking another little scrap piece here that'll fit. Just make sure it'll fit right here. We'll just have to trim this a little bit like that. There we go. Test fit it on there like so. And then what you can do is take a little bit of glue on here. And this is just cosmetic here, but you can get a pretty scale look if you do this. Put that piece on the top here and bevel this one too. Same way. Just take a blade across there and bevel it kind of flat like that. Like that. You see what we're doing here. You're getting a pretty rounded out fuselage when we're done with this. A lot of this we're going to take right off at the end here too. This piece is actually longer than we need, but we'll bevel that out and get a start with it. And then you can just get this going in here like this and start shave off some of this here. Taper that down a little more. And let's get the 100 grit rough stuff. And make the curve here. fold it right over like a turtle duck. Sand it right down to the bulkhead like that. See what we're doing? This takes so little time and effort that there's no reason not to build a plane this way. Just do that, like that, and look at that, you got the turtle deck. Smooth it out. We can do the same thing on the bottom, on the sides. We can make this a rounded fuselage with extra pieces on all the sides and all the bottom. And that's how light this thing is. The weight's not even going to matter. You know, it's just that light. Another thing you could do is you can even do this. And you cut a lightning hole in here. Tape it over if you're going to tape it. There's a complete fuselage there put together in almost no time. Now, the wing is simple to build too. It's only a couple of pieces of foam. Using, just use the template. Stick that on there like that. And that's it. For this size, what I'm going to do, instead of putting skewers through here, I would have put those through as I was building the fuselage. But what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to put the skewers on the bottom to save room for the battery and radio gear, because it's just such a tight fit with small planes. And let's see if I have a skewer around here. Show you how I'm going to do this. It's that simple. I'm just going to take a piece here, like yay, put it right at the leading edge of the wing on the bottom. Run a bit of glue over there. Stick that on there like so. Yay. Just get rid of that. We don't really need that right now. Then trim this, and if I have enough skewer left, I'm a little bit low on skewer here. Let's see, where is my cutter here? This will work a little better to trim this with now. Take that about yay far there. And I don't quite have enough of this skewer. I'll have to find another one somewhere around my shop. I'm sure I have another little shack, but that's what I'd do. I'd put those on the bottom like that. And once again, another thing you can do if you want to hide these is you can take scrap pieces, cut those, just peel this here, like this, make sure it's just wide enough for the fuselage. Oops, on a stick here, a wee bit of glue, like that. Keep these light, stick that on there. Same thing, follow the first bevel. Make a second bevel like this. Like that. And then just take your 100 grit here. A rounded edge on here on this sanding block. I pulled it tight on one edge, so one edge is kind of soft and rounded. And then I just use that to blend and shape that right in like that. Another piece can go there the same way, long enough to reach to the back. You'd need a 2.5 inch piece for that. You'd go, well, 2.5 inches minus the width of the skewer, so like, what are they, 2 3/8 or something like that, right? 2 3/8 back, another piece, and then one more piece back here, like so. And you can blend that right back into the rear of the fuselage, or you can put a whole piece all the way back down there and blend that back and make it round. So that's a real simple way to make a fuselage there. Let's get a little bit of this stuff out of the way, and we'll get to the point where we almost have a plane. All we'd need is a tail, and that simply 2 pieces, just whatever template you like, whatever tail shape you want. If it's to the plans, cut out this tail shape to the plans out of hefty plates. That's all I use. Let's see, I've got I got my flying airframe right here. I'll show you. And that's just hefty plate right there. I just cut them out with big surfaces on it. And this thing is pretty beat up. You see what I did on this thing? I stuck this one I stuck a skewer through the side. This one I stuck a skewer through the bottom here. I reinforced the wing saddle on here. It's got a little weak, and you can do the same on here too. You can just take pieces right along the sides like that. That one's not quite long enough. I can find a couple of pieces that would be long enough here, like so. Like that about there. I'm just gonna tear that. I don't really care to be super precise with this because it all works out in the end. You're going to blend these anyway. So I'm running out of glue stick on this one. I've got to change the stick. We'll stick that on there like so for reinforcement. Let's get another glue stick here, and find another piece here. It'll be long enough and the right size. I've got something like this. Really ultra precise method of cutting this by just ripping it. And I try to put the squarest edge down and just overlap the rough edges here, like so. Because we're gonna trim this down. You can even be precise about this if you want. You can measure things and all that fancy stuff, but me personally, I like absolute simplicity. So that's where I'm at with that. You trim those down when I put the wing on. And I decide what wing is going to go on it. What I'll do is I'll trim these right down to fit the contour of the wing, and that'll hold it in place really good. Now, you can do too, take these here, same thing, get the end of your sanding block, just blend the ends right into the fuselage, like that, like so. Take your rounded part of the sanding block and use it just to drag lengthwise, and then just blend that right in. We can blend this one too the same way. I'm more of a function over form guy, so I don't really care about it's not being exactly precise, because this thing is going to fly just fine. There's going to be nothing wrong with the way this flies. Like that. We'll blend those in like that. Now, if you want to tape those over, you can tape those over. And then it'll go on there like that. And what I'm going to do, seem to have lost my blade here somewhere. Seem to have dropped it. But let's see. Let's just pull another one out because I just can't find that one right now. So let's grab another blade here. There we go. They're kind of tricky to get out. That's the last one in there. So I'm going to take this here and I'll just trim these down like that, like so, like that, a little more. You just take your time and do little small cuts at a time, and you can get really precise instead of trying to make one big even cut at the same time when you're doing this kind of thing, trying to level these out. You just take those and go just a little bit above the fuselage so they can squish down a little bit, and it actually puts all the pressure on the wing saddle. And that would be fuselage in the plane right there. So, let's clear off our area here a little bit. We'll make some more room. We'll just talk about the way we've done this to build up. Now, we started with the fuselage side templates. That's the only critical piece we really need, because after that, the rest of this, you can see, just falls right into place, and it's just pieced together by hand. You don't need measurements, you don't need anything. You know, you just, as long as you have the fuselage profile you want, and you can apply this build method to any fuselage profile that you want, as long as it has a similar plan form to this. In other words, a wide fuselage section, a taper, and like I said, even the turtle deck. The turtle deck was so simple to do, and now we've got a fuselage with the turtle deck. This is mostly the way to a scale fuselage right here. And like I say, you didn't even have to measure a single thing. We had this is my entire plan for an airplane anymore. This is what I can carry this in my pocket, and I can whip it out with one of these, a sheet of foam, build a plane in no time. I can do this a lot quicker than I've showed you this. I'm taking my time so you guys can follow along, but I do this in 10 or 20 minutes. Usually when I need to build another one, I just slap, whip, zip. And it's a tiny, tiny, tiny bit crooked, but barely. It's just barely enough to notice. Like I said, I can fix that with the way I put the tail on. I'll just make sure I put the tail on straight and don't cock it. Looks like I just accidentally pushed my finger a little hard and cracked that glue joint right there. So I'm gonna reinforce that just a tiny bit like that. Just run my finger back over there, and voila, that's it. Now for me, what I use for motor mounts on this, I didn't do a motor mount. I'm going to leave that up to you. But the way I do this for a motor mount, basically, is I'm going to take this right in the center here, in the center, and I'm just going to eyeball it at a little bit of an angle at down thrust. And I'm going to take my pin vise here and just start a hole straight in, a little bit of down thrust like that. Pull that out. Now I can put in here, as well, I use my last little piece of it on the fuselage, I can put a barbecue skewer now through here like so, embed that deep in here, or alternately what I can do is, you see how that comes out the top? I can run this barbecue skewer all the way up, or a piece of carbon fiber to make it even stronger. If you run that all the way up to the bulkhead right there, attach that securely with a good knot of hot glue and some backing, maybe a few more little pieces in there like that. When you crash nose first, your nose isn't going to crumple. The force is going to be transmitted back to this section. At worst, you'll break your bulkhead, maybe crumple the fuselage if you break your bulkhead, but most of the time all the force is going to be taken on that bulkhead, and you can reinforce this bulkhead in front of it, behind it, with pieces of monoblock, and get that to work like that. Carbon fiber, you can even run the carbon fiber up to the top, bend it slightly, just let it flex, let it go through a hole, like let it float through a hole in here. I sometimes put a little balsa piece, drill a hole through it, just so it don't wear the foam out, and then I glue it really good up in this section here of the fuselage. That way it goes down at an angle right into the line of thrust that you want, the down thrust that you want, about 5 degrees. Make it run at a diagonal angle up to the fuselage like that, and bend a little bit. And the bend also helps. If it hits the ground nose in, that carbon fiber rod will bend a little bit, it'll float inside that hole, and it'll flex the whole fuselage. You know, those are just some other options of the ways I build. And when I build that way, I make planes that are indestructible. I've built paper planes using that method, crashed them straight into the ground, and you know, basically the carbon fiber rod takes all that stress out of there. But as for the fuselage, this is just a simple, easy way to build just about any fuselage you'd ever want to build. Questions, comments, post them, subscribe. Peace.